What is up, guys? So, Hotfix 72 just came out about 30 minutes ago, and there's a lot. There's a lot in this update. It's overall a pretty cool update, I think. A lot of changes made. So let's get right into it. So, as you see, I mean, they're starting right now. It'll be up in like another, I don't know, 2.5 hours. But we don't really care about that. So to start off with, they fixed a ton of issues. Like I said, most of these are very relevant. Um, I guess the only ones that really matter for the actual game is traps to be placed in the air instead of on the floor of the elevator. Cool. And then fixed issue where Cleric's judgment would not work properly. I don't know what this means. I don't know if this means like they fix like the clapping where like you would clap and it just wouldn't work, even though it should be casting by all means. But who knows, right? I have no idea. Um, and like I said, most of this other stuff is kind of like whatever. So getting right into it. Fighter's Defense Mastery perk now increases the physical damage reduction PDR maximum limit from the standard 65% to 75%. This is really, really interesting. I think it's a really cool change. And also, right after this, they did the same thing with Barbarian's Iron Will from 65 to 75%. So, this is a really interesting change. However, I want to say I don't particularly like it. For one reason, for the most part, I haven't been running like high PDR builds. I don't think they're that good because I don't think PDR is like having really high PDR isn't usually the difference maker between winning and losing a fight right now in the meta. I feel like a lot of the meta is running like magical damage or just is magical damage. Wizard, Warlock, Demon's Glee, which is partially magical and then partially just true damage stacking. It's not really heavy on the physical damage part. And then like Wizard, Cleric, like all of those things. Those are the main things you're fighting. And the things you're fighting that are like, doing physical damage for the most part have penetration. Daggers, thrust, weak point, longbows, that type of thing. So like I said, at the end of the day, I think this is a very interesting change. However, I do feel like it's way more beneficial to barbarians than it is to fighters. But overall, I think it's like a pretty cool change. Yeah, I think it's interesting. And to say it's not strong would be like disingenuous. I feel like disingenuous. Nah, I said that wrong. I know, but to say it's not strong would just be wrong. I mean, that's just absolutely true. However, I don't know how good it is. I don't like. I think like I said, I think this is a really cool buff, but I don't really like this. I don't think this like makes up for the weakness as a fighter. I think you make it strong matchups better, and now in like a fighter 1v1, you're almost like guaranteed to need to run defense mastery. However, like I said, it's cool. I'm gonna make use of this and like the full tank build. This makes the full tank build better. Truthfully speaking, I think I would like to see I would have liked to have seen the caps just removed in general and gone back to 75% because I think 65% is way too low. But it's cool. It's a good start. Now, spell reflect. Fighter's spell reflection effect persists until magic is successfully reflected. This effect then lasts for 3 seconds after the initial magic reflection. So, this is interesting. This is a really interesting change. And they also lower the cooldown from 24 seconds to 18 seconds. This sounds really, really good until you realize it's like yeah, even if you actually reflect magic though, like it's not really useful because all like if anything, this is like a deterrent, right? It's like okay, I popped this and now you can't shoot at me. You can't shoot anywhere that I could block it. And it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. Well, they're just gonna lightning strike you, and then splash lightning, or splash fireball you, and chain lightning you, and zap you, and explosion you, and X, Y, and Z. And you realize, like, oh, I can't really block magic anyways. Like, this is like the fundamental issue with Spell Reflect, and the reason it's not gonna be good is because there are just way too many alternatives to projectile spells. Cleric doesn't even have any that you can reflect. Warlock has Dark Bolt, but it's like, okay, cool. They could just Curse of Pain you and run around, and they never have to worry about this, and they're just making sure an entire skill of yours is entirely useless. Like, yeah, I think, like, the best use of Spell Reflection in my mind is the surprise factor on, like, a Magic Missile Reflection. That is, like, one of the only ones. And to be fair, that is a very strong use, albeit very, very niche. But if you were in that spot where you were blocking them all, like, yeah, you could probably like insta kill the wizard because you're reflecting them all back into his face. Now, though, if they see this, all they really have to do is just, if they really want to get rid of it, they could just like throw magic missiles at you, wait for you to like in like kind of like a random like arc or whatever, wait for you to reflect one. Okay, cool, and they stop, and now your spell is just used, and they can easily bait it like that. But overall, like I said, I think spell reflection it's just fundamentally not a good skill, and it can't really be one. I mean, it tells you a lot when Aegis isn't even a good like named artifact, for its effect. Like its effect isn't even good, and it's just better spell reflection, right? Like it is. It's literally just better spell reflection. Because thing is, the spell reflection now is just Aegis. That's just what it is. But it's Aegis that takes up a fucking spell slot. So not really good. And I already mentioned Barbarian Iron Will increase the magical damage reduction from 65 to 75. Is what it is. So Rogue's Hide skill now has 2 stacks. Hide Master duration bonus rose from 2.5x to 1.5x. This is massive, along with one other change. And just to get to that really quick, Pickpocket perk is no longer allowed in the arena. Rogue's poison weapon healing reduction increased from 10% to 15% per stack. So that just went from 50% anti-heal at full stacks to 75% anti-heal at full stacks. Couple this with Hide skill now having 2 stacks. This is huge. These rogue buffs are massive. So the poison weapon buff isn't like it's a pretty decent buff to just rogue in general. I think like the bruiser style rogue benefits from this a lot more, and I think that buff is absolutely ridiculous. I will say I'm not a big fan of them going all in on very few forms of anti-heal. Blow up corruption being like 80%, rogue poison up now being 75%. I don't really like that. I would prefer for you to like spread it out a bit more to other characters, because like these characters are like cool, like I can do something against healing. All the other characters are like, okay, cool, what about us? Like, what do we do? Right? They kind of end up getting like a little screwed over. But anyways, I think this is like a ridiculous change. I like it doesn't sound like much, 10% to 15%, but once you have 5 stacks on somebody, like their cleric is useless. Like they are not doing anything. You are effectively, the thing is, if you get 5 stacks on them, they're probably low anyways, right? And the cleric is just not going to save them anymore. So I don't, at this point, poison weapon should just guaranteed be ran. Like it's if you're not running it, you are griefing. Then back to before, Hide skill now has 2 stacks, so this is kind of going to be used, like, this is going to be like the same thing as backstep, effectively, where they can just, they're just going to have Hide forever, right? Like, you're never going to be able to, like, oh, the rogue used Hide, okay, cool, well, guess what, he could still do it again. Also, something else for this is Ambush, which, they go in, they pop it, they come out of stealth, they have the move speed and the damage buff. Now they can do this twice. So they could go on you, like pop Hide for the ambush, stab you once, do it again for the Hide, pop it again, get another ambush proc, and stab you again. Also, the movement speed bonus is going to last. I mean, effectively, they just doubled Rogue in those like departments, right? I think the bigger issue, though, is just going to be, it's just going to be impossible to bait this out now. You are almost never going to be able to bait out 2 different stacks of Hide. That was one of like that was the weakness of Rogue, right? Was once people revealed you, or they caught you from Hide, you can't do anything anymore. It's like, okay, cool, my stealth is down. Like, I have to back off until play my cooldown. That's not really the case anymore. That is, I will say, I think this is genuinely one of, like, it's a huge buff. Huge. If nothing else, just for the fact that they can double proc Ambush and Shadowrunner, or I guess it's just all in Ambush now. They can double proc the move speed and damage from Ambush. It's crazy. And then, like I said, the poison weapon thing, it's just, that is also absolutely massive. So Ranger's backstep cooldown changed from 10 seconds to 12 seconds. Overall, this is it's like a very, very light nerf. I mean, yes, it's overall 4 seconds lost if you consider both charges, but still, this is not. The issue isn't the cooldown of backstep in my mind. It's the fact that if you go on them and they use the backstep, they're probably killing you, so they don't really care about the cooldown. And that's the case for like a lot of melees. Like if a rogue goes on a ranger and they backstep, like, you don't really care that backstep's coming back 2 seconds later because you're lying on the ground dead, right? I don't need the cooldown to be nerfed. I need the actual skill itself to be nerfed, so there's something like, so it's weaker. Like, I don't want it to be, like I said, I don't want it to recharge slower because I'm already dead. I need it to be weaker in some capacity. Then we got some crazy Druid buffs. Druid Panther form health penalty change from 25% to 15%. I don't know why we're doing this again. We literally did this last time, realized, hey, wait, that was really stupid. These things they became incredibly OP. And, yeah, so I guess we're doing that again. And then Druid Bear form action speed penalty change from 30% to 25%, which is a much more reasonable buff than anything. However, just giving Druids 10% more HP, especially in Panther form, I don't like. Until you fix how Panther form, like the hitboxes work, this is really, really bad, because on Panther form, it's just so inconsistent to hit anything but like arm shots. so you do very, very little damage. So even though Panther only has, like 90 HP, a lot of the times with the most weapons, you're just like gonna hit their arms and legs, and it feels like they have like 200 health. I know I've been on the receiving end of hitting a Panther 4 times and then like hopping into a human form and jumping away and healing, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Then, Druid's Tree of Life heals for a total of 15 health over 10 seconds. Okay, that is okay. I've already read these patch notes. I read them when I woke up. I will say when I first read this, I thought it said heals for a total of 15 health per second. I don't know what I was on, but 15 HP over 10 seconds. It's not bad. Certainly not horrible. It's just more healing, and it's a little bit something else because Tree of Life also gives the +5 all, so this is just nice, right? So buff duration with Druid healing is going to be absolutely absurd, even better than it already was. It's still not better than Cleric, but damn if it ain't good. Alright, increase the base primary attributes of poor and common grade items. They probably just buff them all up to 3, if I had to guess. That would make sense to me. I wouldn't really mind that either, but 3 sounds like what they're going to do here. That would just make sense. The random modifier values have been slightly adjusted, so that means they changed some of the rolls. We don't know what it's going to be. We will know when we get in game, but we don't know what it's going to be. Adjusted damage for several weapons. I would be very, very surprised to not see nerfs to longbow in particular. Unless they mean, so unless this right here is these stats down here, then I would be very, very surprised to not see, like longbow nerfs or falchion buff, maybe even like things like Demon's Glee, like rapier nerf. I will have to see when we get in the game whether or not this is actually anything or if just these stats down here. So upgraded the armor rating curve table to be more consistent and have a lower top end. I don't like. I feel like I don't know if I'm misunderstanding this. Have a lower top end. I guess that just means at the highest end, then the armor is giving you less point per. You're getting less armor per point. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's the opposite. I don't know. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not thinking that hard right now. So, Bardish's primary attack multiplier changed from 1.0, 1.1 to 1.2. The second attack of Bardish lost 20% damage, which is really, really big. So the reason they do this, I'm pretty sure, is because how this weapon works, they do it with Halberd too, right down here, is the second attack doesn't have a sour spot because of how it works. It's as like a poke. There's just no sour spot for it, which makes it incredibly strong even at close range, and this kind of just brings it in line a little bit more. But yes, this is like, these are huge nerfs. 20% on the poke is so much damage drop off. That's actually a really big nerf. Battle Axe's secondary attack multiplier changed from 1.0 to 1.1, 10% buff. Clubs changed from 1.05 to 1.1. Double Axe 1.1 to 1.15. Halberd lost 20% on that second swing. I don't know why we nerfed Halberd. I mean, it's cool, I guess. I mean, I guess you did it for the Bardiche, but goddamn, if Halberd is not the level of Bardiche is. Halberd is awful. Chris Daggers went from 1.0, 1.1, 1.1, 1.1 to 1.05, 1.15, and 1.15. Nerfed the second one, buffed the third and fourth. Lantern Shield, 20% buff for both riposts. Quarterstaff saw nerfs and buffs from 1.1, 1.1, 1.1 to 1.05, 1.1, 1.15. So it kind of ramps up now. Spear lost 10% on the second and third swing. Good. Stiletto got 5% more on the last swing. Bardiche and Flute. Bardiche, Flute, Quarterstaff, Spear all went from 3 impact resistance to 4 for some reason. I don't know why. Interesting. But Buckler's movement speed penalty changed from -12 to -7. Thorn Shield's movement speed penalty changed from -12 to -7. Lantern Shield movement speed penalty changed from -19 to -10. Frostlight Lantern Shield movement speed penalty reduced from -15 to -7. Round Shield movement speed penalty reduced from -18 to -12. Heater Shield movement speed penalty reduced from -20 to -15. And Pavis movement speed penalty reduced from -35 to -25. So, pretty big shield buffs. I am okay with all of these except for the Buckler. I think the Buckler's the one that really didn't need it. Primarily because, surprise, surprise, Bards, Clerics, Rondel Fighters, they all use these weapons, or they all use these, and I don't think you should be buffing that. I think Bards and Clerics are already plenty fast. I don't think they needed it. Fighter, yes, I think it's a nice change, because it brings it back to where it used to be, but I don't see the need to buff Buckler from -12 to -7. That's just, like, insane to me. Buckler was already strong for what it was. Now you're just making it even better of a stat stick. It's only minus 2% move speed, just a little bit more, but it's ridiculous. But overall, the shield move speed penalty reduction is gonna feel really really good. I think you're definitely gonna be able to see the resurgence of some of these like Rondo fighter builds with Buckler, or just in general. I think the shields are just fantastic. The Frostlight Lantern shield's actually pretty decent now too, considering they buffed their riposte damage and they buffed the move speed by so much. It's overall pretty crazy. And like I said, I'm pretty satisfied with the shield changes. What was one of the things I found was weird whenever they decided to nerf them? They just like randomly like, okay, all the shields are like significantly heavier now. Here you go, on one of the wipes, which is weird to me, but I'm down for this. I like the shields being a bit lighter. I know a lot of people are looking at this like, fighter buffs. Fighter's like way too strong. It's like, brother, like the fucking shield fighter wasn't even good, man. Only people are. I mean, it's just like it's so mid. It's like so giga mid that I'm pretty happy with these buffs. It seems like they're definitely buffing like the tanky style fighter a little bit more. Like I said, the spell reflection changes completely whatever. The defense mastery perk change, it's a thing. It is a change of all time. I don't know how to feel about this. Like I said, I think it's really cool. Overall, I don't know how good it's going to be because, like I said, at the end of the day, a lot of the physical damage in the meta all has a shitload of armor pin, and there's just not that much of it to begin with, right? Is what it is. But I do think the shield buff is honestly huge. I would honestly go as far as I think the shield buff might be bigger than the fucking PDR change, which is kind of hilarious. But getting 5 more move speed is really, really nice. It's really, really nice. Because then you combine that with things like sprint and things like counterattack, and it makes you so much faster. Random modifiers are now displayed on crafted and purchasable items from merchants, including the excluding the goblin merchants. So you can see the merchant items, which makes sense. I feel like makes plenty of sense. I think a lot of people are confused why you couldn't do this. So early access for season adventure rank rewards have been revealed. Adventure rank rewards be awarded based on the account and can only be redeemed once per account rather than for each individual character. So no more, no more 9 gold bags or 45 inner gold at the start of the wipe. Can't do that anymore. The rewards unlocked for the account will be determined by the highest ranked character linked to the account. So that's the same as before, but you can only get the rewards once. Jack-o'-lantern will be leaving soon as we prepare for a new guest. Jolly Nicholas. I don't know why I said Saint Nick. I just added that in there. Jolly Nicholas is scheduled to return to the tavern at the next update on December 5th. Please be sure to use all your candy corn this week. Use the accounts. I mean, I don't care about that. Just fucking link your account. So, and then they say, we were pleased to announce December 18th as the date for the next wipe and start of the new season. We plan to utilize the remaining time during season to test and finalize the arena system, fine-tune the new item and class balances, and start testing other various preparations to ensure a great start to the next season. This update brings a more measured overhaul to the item design for us to begin tuning as a basis for the next season's update. We've updated the damage and armor value of items to fit a more predictable pattern. We've also improved the base primary stats of poor and common equipment, allowing for greater build diversity and generally improving the overall pace of combat at the lower end. We have also made slight modifications to the random modifier values and have made the armor rating curve more natural while improving durability on the lower range. What do they mean by more natural? Like, what does more natural even mean? Nah, I don't know. By making the power progression more predictable through these changes, we can finally start to get a handle on improving the class perks, skills, and spells which we have initiated with this hotfix. I mean, this is like whatever, I don't care. We thank you for the continued support through the season. We have some big changes coming next season that directly addresses many of the most pressing current issues. We plan to share more details very soon. Thank you and see you in the dungeon. So, I think you guys, obviously, I'm going to say here, as I'm sure most people are, very aware of it. Overall, pretty sick patch. I'll say it. A lot of cool changes in here. A lot of rebalancing of weapons that I think was certainly some of them were needed. I think the Bardiche second swing really really good. I think a lot of these changes are cool. Some of them are very interesting, like the rogue hide skill and the what's it called and the poison weapon nerf. Pickpocket not working in arenas is sick. Or poison weapon buff. Overall, really cool. The PDR change, the defense mastery, and Iron Will, very cool. So, however, I will say this. However, where are my cleric nerfs, right? Like, where are they at, game? I mean, listen, SDF. I don't know where you. Are you hiding cleric nerfs under the floorboards? Is that what you're doing? Because where are they at? That's just I gotta ask. And I know before anybody just says it, I know right here we have some big changes coming next season that directly address many of the most pressing current issues. I'm assuming that is referring to things like cleric nerf. However, why not release them now, right? They even say right here, we've they're trying to what's it called? Right, where's it at? Where's it at? They mentioned they're trying to test things. Was that in here? It still was in here somewhere, right? Uh, yeah. We plan to utilize the remaining time during the season to test and finalize the arena system, fine-tune the new item and class balances. Right there, new item and class balances. So why in God's name are we not implementing cleric nerfs? Like, if they don't realize how broken cleric is, then it's just like a delusion, right? I genuinely have to wonder. But cleric has been the best character in the game for almost the entirety of this game's lifespan. The only times it was not the best class in the game was during things like Den of Darkness Bard meta, where something was just entirely broken and just literally broke the entire balance of the game. And even then, Cleric was still played because Sanctuary was one of the only counters to Den of Darkness Bard. So like I'm saying, where are they at? Like, at least give me something. Give me a crumb of a Cleric nerf. Just give me a tiny, tiny little bit. Maybe they're like, okay, if we like, they're smart enough to realize, okay, if we nerf cleric, we kind of have to like rebalance the entire game as a whole because the entire game is balanced around cleric. So they're like, okay, we can't do that right now. But then I just have to ask why. It's like, if you want to make changes that are that massive, it is better to do them now to like fix stuff and get out of the way when the issues are inevitably going to arise from doing such major balance changes. It's so much better to do them right now and let everybody realize, like, hey, okay, this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad, to fix that going into next season, rather than next season comes out and boom, you just drop like a whammy of a patch on us that nerfs cleric, ranger, wizard, nerfs tankiness, nerfs like, all of this stuff. Because when you do that, whenever the issues that arise, they could potentially ruin the start of a wipe, which they have done on numerous occasions, where they didn't test anything before and they released the new wipe and something crazy came out, like plus all, or some crazy new items, or crazy new stats, or crazy new class buffs, and it pretty much ruined the first, 2-3 weeks of the wipe, because that was the meta, and it was very, very unfun and just not good. And I'm really worried that's what's going to happen. And more importantly, I don't even care about that. Just please, man, please. I'm crying. I'm begging. Please nerf Cleric. I'm so tired of playing against Cleric, man. I know I speak for a lot of people when I say I just do not want to play against Cleric anymore. Like, listen, I've been a very, very big defender of you should not make a class, like, nothing should be useless. Everything should be playable. Don't. I don't even, I'm not even like trying to play that road to cleric. I want it to be like, I want it to be horrible, garbage. I want cleric to literally be unplayable. I want it to be the worst class in the game, bar none. I want it to be release like bard level, playtest 5, release bard level of bad. I want nobody to play cleric. I am so tired of being forced to have a cleric on my team or I just lose. It's just not fun. It's not. Because whenever you're trying to play, like, okay, well, who's playing cleric? Nobody? Well, guess we're screwed. And that's just how the game works. Not to say you literally are forced to play with the cleric, but if you don't, you are playing at such a giant disadvantage that you have to play absolutely perfectly. And when you fight a cleric team, it just feels bad because you're watching these players make mistake after mistake after mistake, and they just get full healed for it. Oh, this wizard got shot in the head by a crossbow because he pushed up like an idiot? Cool, lesser heal, holy light. Oh, everybody's low? Sanctuary. Oh, my team died? Res. Oh, you need damage? Holy strike, judgment. It's just like, come on, man, please. Just let me get a little something, just a little something. Also, I don't think I mean, like I said, one big thing is, oh god, I'm dying here. The adjusted damage for several weapons. If this does not include like bow nerfs, like longbow and recurve bow, then ranger nerfs are going to be like way more necessary. Like I think this needs to include spear, longbow, recurve bow. I think falchion needs a buff. Um, Maybe they nerf something like the daggers or something. I could see that. Maybe they nerf rapier. I don't even care if they nerf crossbow. Like I really don't. I'm really excited. I'm really not sure. I don't like that they do this. So you have the time to sit here and label all of these things that you did, but you just can't tell me like what damage weapons you adjusted. That just seems silly. Also, club. Club definitely needs buff. Club is probably the worst weapon in the game. But yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see whenever the game comes up. But anyways, that is gonna wrap it up for me. Hope you guys enjoyed the patch review, and feel free to leave your thoughts and opinions down below. As always, I will catch you guys next time. Peace.